Welcome back to the second episode of Pawsey's Capital Refresh podcast. Today I have Mark Stickells and Stacy Tyson with me, who is the procurement's project manager. During the first episode, we talked about the importance of the capital refresh and an update on some of its key components. To continue that conversation, how are we going with our procurement?
Well, it's actually been a really productive and really exciting couple of months since our last podcast. Our main focus has been on the primary procurement, which is the Pawsey Supercomputing system, and the development of the statement of requirements for that. At the end of this week, we'll be putting that statement of requirements to the procurement board for their endorsement, which is quite a significant milestone in this process. At the same time, we've had a number of other procurements also running in parallel, and they've continued to be progressed over the last couple of weeks as well. So it's been a very busy time for Pawsey, for the project team, and for a number of other technical people who've provided input to that process.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Stacy and David, Ugo, and all of the subject matter experts and technical leads that have worked pretty hard in the last month to get us to this point. It's an exciting time in the project, definitely.
It sounds pretty complex. You've got a lot of people working on the project. You've got parallel procurements coming up and lots of requirements coming out. I would imagine our procurement then would also be staged, and
it is a staged project process. It's a complex project, and there are in fact hundreds of lines of procurement across the project plan when you break down the various components. In receiving the grant from the Commonwealth, it really is a grant that provides for the replacement of not just Magnus and Galaxy, but the infrastructure that supports this those services. So our long-term storage and some of our high-speed interconnect facility, our cloud services, and some of our visualization facilities are all being upgraded as part of this program, and that reflects, I think, the needs of our user community, particularly that of radio astronomy and their frontier sort of pushing efforts around data volumes and data processing at quite a scale, but also provides for Pawsey to position for emerging domains. So I say the bioinformatics and their data and computational needs. So I think the staging's been necessary, but also a bit of future planning or forward planning for Pawsey to be as responsive and hopefully as productive as it can be with this new investment.
So with this new investment and the emerging domains that we're going to be a part of, how are we going to help our users come onto these new systems as well?
We're very focused on getting our specifications right and the technical engagement, user engagement at the moment. But Stacy and the team, I think, as we move through taking the systems to market, ideally in the next phase, the next few months, we will shift our gears and focus on user migration and end user engagement with systems, and there's a whole process of change management that we'll invest in and will support.
So I'd imagine that with the staged procurement and the different life cycles that we have, systems will be going up and down, but users will still need to continue their science and their research. Is this something that's going to be addressed with the procurement?
Yes, look, for every item being procured, we have a user uptake plan that is being put together. Focusing on the supercomputer as an example, we'll be delivering that ideally in 2 phases, and the initial phase will be delivered so that it provides at least the same compute capacity as Galaxy and Magnus. We've then allowed a period of time to transition our users from Galaxy and Magnus onto the new system, where we have all the systems running in parallel. When everyone has been successfully transitioned, we can decommission Galaxy and Magnus, which will provide additional floor space, as well as additional power and cooling capacity, enabling us to expand the Pawsey supercomputing system. And that gives us the 2 phases of delivery there. So that's one example. In a number of the other, smaller procurements, we're retaining the existing infrastructure until our users have been transitioned onto the new, then we can remove the existing infrastructure.
Okay, so all of the systems will basically be up until everyone's been smoothly transitioned across, and then we'll decommission them.
That's correct.
Cool. So I think with the procurement, we've also started to deliver on some of the systems that we've put out to market. So we have our file systems and our storage that are starting to come into place, but there's also a lot more to come.
Oh, look, that's right. We delivered the tape early on in the project, which was an expansion to our long-term storage to provide additional capacity in that area very quickly. We have also progressed the astronomy high-speed storage expansion, which will provide a separate system for MWA and for ASCAP for high-speed storage. And that'll be finalised in the coming weeks. It's very close to full acceptance. We also have the cloud procurement, which is well progressed at the moment. We've received back responses to our RFQs, and we're now going through the final evaluation with hoping to have a primary provider in the coming weeks, and we'll start to see that being delivered early next year on the floor. Just behind that procurement in progress is the MWA compute cluster. The RFQ for that closed a couple of weeks ago, and that's also an evaluation process. Following those procurements, as we said, the supercomputer tender will be out. And once we fully understand those requirements, we're going to be developing the requirements for the long-term storage to ensure that we'll be able to integrate the long-term storage with our supercomputer once it's procured.
Okay. Well, Mark and Stacy, thank you for coming in and joining me in this episode of the Pawsey Capital Refresh podcast. It was really valuable to see your insights into the procurement and the shift from delivery to migration in the project. The next podcast, I think we're going to focus on the cloud procurement, as well as some of the storage infrastructure that we're delivering at the Pawsey Supercomputing Centre. As always, there will be a survey attached to this podcast where we're looking for feedback and input into the previous episodes that you've listened to, as well as some ideas on the topics that you'd like to see covered within the Pawsey Capital Refresh podcast as well. Thanks for listening.